And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho Mash. We've got some interesting stuff going on. We've seen a major earthquake off the coast of Alaska and the Aleutian Islands. A tsunami warning issued. Close-ups of 2767, the new Sunspot. It's only alpha class. Dildo theft, nutrition, Galaxy NGC 4217, and more. First of all, we're looking at the sun here in 193 angstroms. A bunch of coronal holes there, and the sun's making a giant frowny face. Check it out. Oh no, oh noes, it's a coronal hole frowny face. The sun's got a bit of a lack of plasma in the Earth-facing zone right now. And let's talk about the eeriness of a tsunami warning. Very creepy, very creepy. Sirens off in the distance. And parts of Alaska have been evacuated. That quake came in just a couple hours ago, just after 6 o'clock UT, today on July 22nd. So some creepy sirens going off there over Alaska, and you'll see it all over the newswire. Here's the breakdown. There's where the earthquake happened, and those tsunami warnings are basically just around the Alaska area. We don't see any for places like American Samoa, Hawaii, etc. And no massive wave expected nor reported on yet. There you go. It happened at 10:13 local time. And again, no reports of tsunamis yet. Major earthquake, magnitude 7.8 in the Aleutian Islands. Next, let's look at the fields here. Here's the current image, and that sunspot is alpha class. We don't see any opposite field umbrae, but the orientation of its existing umbra is indeed cycle 25. Here's the 304 angstroms view. We see some filaments here up in the northeast as well as the northwest, and a flurry of activity down there around sunspot 2767. So here's some close-ups of that. This is the 304 angstroms view. Great images there, along with the Earth scale. That sunspot larger than planet Earth, the entire umbra. The entire Earth would fit inside the umbra. As we see into the condensed matter that makes up the inside of the sun, otherwise known as the photosphere. Here's a view in 131 angstroms. Keep in mind this is a little bit higher temporal resolution in that this scope takes 10 images per minute instead of only 2, like the 304 angstroms. 94 and 131 angstroms are the 10 images per minute spectra on the SDO. All the rest are 2 images per minute. We've also got 171 angstroms of that same region. My favorite wavelength, 171 angstroms. And I'll let that play through a second time for all of you solar sightseers. By the way, leave us a comment if you're viewing live or if you're viewing in syndication on places like BitChute and YouTube. Thanks to everybody who left comments yesterday, folks like Kimberly and Bestoic. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux is back up to 70. There is the approximately 3-year graph of the radio flux as we come out of solar minimum and ramp up to a new solar maximum. Will it be greater or less than the previous sunspot cycle? Well, that's a kind of an important question, especially for people who use the word grand solar minimum every 4 seconds. KP index is currently at 1, an overall measurement of earthly geomagnetism. And we see a little bit of X-rays here coming off the floor a little bit, nothing resembling a B-class flare yet. And Waiting to see if we see any opposite field umbrae develop or anything like that associated with Sunspot 2767. So far, no. And if we don't see a trailing North Pole polarity umbra, it makes it much less likely to see significant X-ray flaring. We don't see significant proton flux changes here at all, and we are expecting a possible small blip here on the 24th or 25th as a result of the coronal mass ejection that's headed our way. Next, we'll look at the real-time solar wind. And part of the reason why we do the channel is because we see the coronal mass ejections apparently before anybody else and are able to make rational forecasts about them much more quickly than certainly any channels on YouTube, etc. Now we see the phi angle shifting all around here, and that's no surprise, as we've got not only coronal holes, but a mass of plasma in between the sun and the Earth. And for all of you who understand physics and magnetohydrodynamics, you probably realize that those shifts in the phi angle can be caused simply by the plasma blocking the proper sensing of the sun's magnetic field and affecting the incoming solar protons, which is what's being measured in the phi angle. Current phi angle around 100 degrees. BTBZ is fairly uneventful here. That's the top pane for all you new viewers. Solar wind density currently around 7 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed extremely low, below 300 kilometers a second, which is about as low as we typically ever see. 293 kilometers a second is the current solar wind velocity. Let's check out how all of those things affect the magnetohydrodynamic pressure of the geosphere. This is the Geospace Magnetosphere movie, courtesy University of Michigan Geospace Model V1.5. And that's 4 hours of data showing a fairly weak magnetosphere here. The main pressure showing up in the magnetotail on the opposite of the sun side of the Earth. And here's the ground geospace magnetic perturbations here coming a little closer to home. And I've decided to shut off the flames. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not mad. You know what they say? The best revenge is living well, which means my enemies have no hope for revenge. Please leave a comment if you have enemies that think they're your friends and friends that think they're your enemies. Anyway, we're going to let this play through a second time here as it refreshed. Please bear with us, as there's lots more interesting things to talk about. There will be antics on today's daily space weather. Anyway, there's the 4 hours of data of geospace ground magnetic perturbations. And welcome to another episode of Smashlights, where we talk about whatever we want, and we may even tell some people to shut their heads. A place where you can open your head is at smAsho.com/forum. Thanks everybody for contributing over there. We have this set up to run itself, so I'm not always involved in conversations here. You can follow topics. We've got over 20,000 views now and pushing 1,300 viewers. Will you be the 1,300th registered user on smAsho.com/forum? Well, if you haven't signed up yet, sign up and contribute. Go to new users and tell us all about you or something like that, or perhaps contribute to the Cosmology Forum or the Earth and Geophysics Forum, etc. smAsho.com/forum. Let's talk nutrition. Are you aware of a new plant-based ingredient made from wood? Oh yeah, that's right, wood protein. Fermented wood pieces can replace more traditional things like soy and fungus and peas and coconut protein. Talk about a truly sustainable, nutritious ingredient. Fermented wood. How great is that? I'm just chomping at the bit to eat some wood. This is another major breakthrough, and we're going to continue to see major breakthroughs in things like science and farming and indeed physics, as certain aspects of physics, like astrophysics, get totally rewritten. The ideas between how stars and planets form being completely rewritten, and thank goodness, more sources of protein. Wood. Did you know? It's called Silpro. Silpro. And apparently it's by some company called Arbiome, Arbiome, probably a reference to biomes and trees. Just fantastic. Ecme and Chevrel. Ecme states, I think we want to develop a product that ultimately products that meet the needs of the industry. I think we're always having that type of feedback, and certainly we've advanced discussions along that pipeline. We've been pleased with the trajectory of SealPro within the human food space. It's also highly nutritious, it's got a high protein content, and because it's sourcing from wood, has no exposure to antibiotics or other environmental contaminants animal-based ingredients may come in contact with. Despite what may be thought about an ingredient from wood, the company says SealPro is very easily digestible. So how about them apples, folks? And thanks to, I believe it's Jeff, for posting this on Facebook. We saw it yesterday and decided to pick it up today. This is why to interact with us on social media. Are you aware of hormone disruptors? Well, there are all kinds of hormone disruptors out there, whether it's plant-based hormone-mimicking chemicals, such as soy, making men grow boobs, or it's bisphenol A in your plastic products, or if it's flame retardants, such as, I don't remember what it's called, PFAS, perfluoroalkyl substances. They're all very bad for you, and we're just putting up this article here from SciTech Daily to urge you to avoid them, as they're associated with all kinds of things like diabetes, reproductive problems, various cancers. So please be aware of this. Read the article on scitechdaily.com if you like. Experts warn of growing hormone disruptor chemical threats. This is one of the most serious things, folks, as hormone disruptors can use a very small amount of chemicals to produce a very big effect, because that's how hormones work in your body. They're sort of chemical news broadcasters that tell your body what to do, and artificial ones are very harmful for you. Let's talk about something that's very not harmful for you, in fact quite good for you. Cinnamon. It may improve blood sugar control. Now, this is part of the reason why maple syrup is vastly superior to corn syrup, which is what Aunt Jemima is, in case you're wondering. Corn syrup's kind of bad for you, as it causes a huge sugar spike, and maple syrup causes nothing, no sugar spike. One of the ways that we improve blood sugar control is by taking cinnamon, yes. So this could slow or possibly even cure type 2 diabetes, folks. It's pretty serious stuff. It's estimated that nearly 90 million people in the U.S. have prediabetes. So apparently, the beneficial effects of adding cinnamon to the diet is to mitigate your blood sugar levels, and that is a great thing. So once again, another example here, and we're going to get back into coffee recipes soon, now that we've sort of normalized our coffee intake here. Thanks again to Terry, who is instrumental. Terry from Michigan. Thanks again, Terry. You've got us doing things like buying organic coffee beans only, using non-white colored coffee filters, using filtered coffee, period. And using a grinder and grinding up coffee beans immediately. We're going to start adding things to our coffee once again, things like cinnamon and cayenne pepper and cocoa and so on. So another article here on SciTech Daily, important stuff about your nutrition. Consider adding cinnamon to help with your things like insulin resistance. So that's when cells in your muscles, fat, and liver don't respond well to insulin and can't use glucose for energy. It can contribute to a fatty pancreas. Things like pancreatic cancer are associated undoubtedly. And of course, it can lead to things like obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. You don't want insulin resistance. One of the ways to avoid it is through intermittent fasting and a ketogenic diet. Now, one of the things that's amazing about a ketogenic diet is it forces you to consume better foods. So stay away from processed food, folks. Watch your carbs. Consider doing intermittent fasting. You'll be amazed at how quickly it has major effects on your waistline, your energy levels, and everything else about your inflammatory profile, much less your things like insulin resistance. So here's an article from Healthline talking about intermittent fasting and keto. Now, we're not on a strict ketogenic diet. As somebody like me, like a pro cyclist who needs to have high intensity energy, I consume carbs regularly, especially before doing a very hard effort. However, most days I intermittently fast for like 16 hours. This makes a huge difference. 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating actually works. And again, after about 6 weeks of this, if you try it out, you will be absolutely amazed at how much energy you have, how food is not required. Skipping breakfast, I used to do it, didn't really know why I was doing it. The keto diet can help you out. Let's talk about a bad diet. It's the dildo diet. And one of the things you want to not do is shoplift. Now, this guy, I'm not sure exactly what he's planning on doing with this, but he's, let's just say he's shoplifting some serious stuff here. Now, he's walked into a place called Deja Vu Love Boutique in Las Vegas, and here's the target of his theft. It is a 4-foot-long, 40-pound giant dildo, and you're going to see him just make off with it. That's worth about $1,200. I'm not sure if that makes it grand theft where this happened in Las Vegas. I think in Pennsylvania you got to steal like $2,300 worth of stuff. I wonder what he's doing with that thing right now. And let's talk about COVID and about how it's made in China. That right there, well, I don't know if it's made in China or not. It might have been made in nature. Did the Communist Party have anything to do with it? Chinese Communist Party? Well, who knows? Who really knows? That's the real threat as, hey, Chinese people, if you're watching, and I doubt you are, we love you. We just have a little bit of concerns about the Chinese Communist Party, let's say. Now, I think I've already had COVID, which happened in, I think, April. But I really have no idea. Do I plan to get tested? Nope. Do I want an antibody test? Nope. Do I want to seek any medical attention at all? Nope. Why? Because I have a very, very healthy and robust immune system. It's caused by supplements, enough rest, nutrition, and all sorts of other things, as well as massive exposure to the elements and exposure to all sorts of pathogenic diseases in public. It causes my immune system to do things like this. For you again. See, that's what happens when you have a robust immune system. Now, Trump has idiotically admitted that coronavirus will, quote, get worse and won't admit past failings. I have no idea about the past failings. But now he's urging people to wear masks. Let me read you a quote. It will get worse before it gets better. Okay. That's something I don't like saying, but it is. We're asking that everybody, when you're not able to socially distance, wear a mask. Whether you like the mask or not, okay? They have an impact. They have an effect. We need everything we could get. A vague statement at the end of his thing. Dr. Fauci's been talking to every news source in the world, talking out his you-know-what, which has prompted us to create a song. And maybe I'll have to write all the lyrics. Hey, Keeb's Tunes, otherwise known as Mr. Keebler. Let's consider doing a rendition of this, as even Senate Republicans are now backing Fauci. Well, I've got something else to say. So let's break out the karaoke so I can sing for our viewers. Just a moment. We are streaming live. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Fauci lives in a very bad part of town. It's called Washington, D.C. It sucks. And everybody, yeah, tries to put Fauci down. Well, Fauci, I don't care what your epidemiologists do. 'Cause you know, Fauci, dude, I really can't stand you. And so I sing now, shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Anyway, Fauci is an infectious disease expert specializing in vaccines, not an epidemiologist, which is why I'm telling Fauci to shut up, because I think he has some sort of financial interest in extending the pandemic, pushing a vaccine, and doing all kinds of other unnecessary things associated with a cheap Chinese virus made of plastic, okay? So learn how to say China at the top of your face. Say China. Tell this guy to shut his face. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. All right. I've survived a global pandemic so far. Congratulations on doing the same and not being a complete COVIDiot like oh so many COVIDiots around the world. Oh, and by the way, one other thing. A writing credit to Shut Up, Fauci, Fauci, Shut Up, based on some song by the McCoys called Hang On Sloopy. Writing credit to Pat Gray of The Blaze. I believe he wrote the track. Shut Up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Again, we are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAsho. If you haven't subscribed, please do so if you want to see the content immediately. We're also on YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, please take a moment to press like and subscribe, and press the notification bell, and increase the probability that you'll actually see the videos when they come out. One of the perks of being a patron or a subscribe star is that we actually tell you when the daily space weather videos come out, as well as other stuff. We are on BitChute as well, thanks to our new subs over there. And there's exclusive content on all of our social media, so check it out. Please consider becoming a patron. Thanks to our patrons for being the real source of funding for the content. We won't talk about Google AdSense today. We're also on Subscribestar. Please visit the other links below the video. We've got a prototype piece of merch coming. We're going to dip our toe into the fine, fine world of merch, poking fun at the infantile response of mankind to Smasher Price, my first pandemic. So look for that in less than a week. And if you'd like to reach us for any sort of breaking news stories or anything like that, or if you just want to say hi, feel free to send us a call or a text at the smAsho VoIP line. It's country code 1, area code 610-936-9799. That's country code 1, 610 is the area code, 936-9799. That's a lot of nines, and we picked it on purpose. Let's talk about material science. Nope, not condensed matter physics today. Nope. How about a material that cannot be cut? How? Well, it destroys your cutting tool before it gets destroyed. It's a bunch of ceramic beads inside of an aluminum cellular matrix, making for all kinds of new breakthroughs in protective equipment and so on. This one's on extremetech.com if you want to read about the engineer that cannot be cut. Have they named it? Well, I don't know. It's from Durham University and Fraunhofer Institute. And it is based on seashells. So once again, like Velcro and so many other things, a design taken from nature. It's called Proteus. Here's a little clip. Here's a grinder not being able to grind. And basically what they've done is they've ground down the grinder and not the material. Let's talk about magnetic fields. Well, they're being measured all over the place. And here's an article about the magnetic fields of galaxy NGC 4217. Just bear with me one moment, folks. Just got to make sure that the stream is legit and that we don't have any chats that I got to respond to. So here's a small cosmology segment. And the field lines on this galaxy are quite all over the place. Many of you may expect the fields to just kind of be like this, coming out of the core. And that's not what we see by any stretch. We see major field force lines, potential field force lines like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. It almost looks like a swastika, just saying. And yeah, so here's an article about magnetic field structures discovered, super bubbles, giant loops, and X-shaped fields. A bunch of galaxies that look a lot like the Milky Way when we look at the extremely interpolated radio data to figure out the potential magnetic field force lines. It has to do with very precise measurements of things like redshift of the mainly hydrogen that's being blown all around those galactic cores. In any case, the X-shaped magnetic field of NGC 4017, an off-center superbubble structure, is interesting, and it does have to do with the real way things like galaxies are structured, forming, breeding stars, or whatever you'd like to say. So if you want to check this one out, it's another SciTech Daily. I think that's 3 today. Shout out to SciTech Daily, my favorite science publication. And we would like to invite you to Mensa. Make Earth not suck again. It's up to you. Or, if you're in the U.S., Mensa. Make America not suck again. It's up to you. Centralization is dead, so be an individual. Have an opinion. Let us know in the comments what it is. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Smash Lights, where we don't always sing, but sometimes we do. And now it's time to go do more stuff, such as look at more data. Goes magnetometer. There's the current state of affairs on that. And look for this to be all over the place for the rest of the day, as we've not only got a coronal mass ejection on the way, we've got a sunspot, and we're about to be back in the North Pole current sheet. Now, yesterday we didn't really we might have been in the North Pole current sheet for a little short period of time, and we're very close to the boundary crossing right now. So you can see the South Pole current sheet shown here in red. North Pole dominating right now, an indication that the North Solar Polar Field has increased in strength. That's a good sign. And because of the influence of that sunspot, we're probably very close to, if not already, in the North Pole current sheet shown here in green. We won't get into the physics of it today, as we don't want the video to be too long for daily space weather. You can see the B field being pulled down a little bit toward the sunspot here. Right at the end there, you can see a little bit of a shift in the B field. And that's the blue part there, and that's actually reflected in the BT, in the real-time solar wind that we always show toward the beginning of the content. That's the BT component, and its orientation is the BZ component. Again, we won't get super in-depth into it today. Keep in mind that data is an hour and 13 minutes old and can change with no warning. Here's the 1 year of electron flux, and we finally came off of this very perplexing flatline section right here that lasted like 2 months. And here's a total electron content forecast. And we see more normal levels of electron flux here. You will see some GPS errors around the equator around noon especially. And there are some anomalies here over the South Atlantic, as well as the Caribbean here at nighttime. Mexico, etc. will see some nighttime GPS errors. Here's the 3-day GOES electron flux measured by the GOES 16. And let's see. Nothing to write home about there. More normal levels, not quite so flatlined, and not in warning threshold levels either. Here's one layer of the atmosphere, just the ionosphere, and it's looking excessively discharged on the daytime side and more normal on the nighttime side. So here's the highly discharged daytime portion, making it only to 7 megahertz there. That one coming in at 845 UT. Here's where planets are in the solar system during this massive pileup, where all the planets are on one side of the sun. There's where things will be in a week. Here's what's going on above my head. Let me press refresh here. It's 4:52. Do you know where your planets and constellations are? If you're up before dawn, you should see a lot of things. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter all in the sky at once. We got some heat advisories once again. Looking at weather.gov real quick before we get into volcanoes, and we see some more volcanoes on the list that I don't think have ever been covered, maybe only once. Abiko's erupting, flight level 10,000 there. Nishinoshima exploding, flight level 12,000 there. So that's a little uptick there in Japan, I believe. Telika back on the list. A new series of ash explosions occurred on the 20th. Sangay exploding, flight level 20,000 there. Ravenador exploding, flight level 15,000 there. And Sabancaya also likewise exploding, flight level 21,000. Please do not attempt to hang glide or fly a wingsuit over the caldera. That could make for bad times. Here's where that 7.8 magnitude quake happened. southwest of Kodiak National Wildlife Refuge. And again, no reports of tsunamis yet. There was a warning issued, and there were evacuations that happened, as well as many aftershocks. Let's go down the list. The past 24 hours of quakes include a deep one at Fiji, nearly 600 kilometers at a 4.4 magnitude. So we saw a bunch of deep quakes yesterday. Deep quakes continuing today. I wouldn't say to rest your earthquake threat just because we saw a 7.8, as we've had a lull in earthquakes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more major quakes in earthquake-prone zones. Here's a nearly 500 kilometer depth 4.4 magnitude quake at the Fiji Islands, followed only a few minutes later by a 5.0 magnitude quake closer to the surface at 168 kilometers. So still deep, but not nearly as deep as the one that occurred minutes before. Another deep quake strikes western South America. And we see a 6.0 at Fiji also. That's an extremely deep quake at over 600 kilometers depth. If that one would have happened at the surface, that would have been nearly an 8 magnitude quake. Another deep quake at Colombia, northern South America there. And just bear with me one moment, folks. There we saw a deep quake far out on the Aleutian Islands there. It's only a 3.7 magnitude. Again, there's that 7.8 that struck at 6:12 Universal Time today. Perryville, Alaska, out shallow in the Aleutian Islands. Tsunami warning issued. No waves reported yet. And thank goodness for that, as there are some very low-lying regions. Let's see where lightning strikes are happening. And we've got some terrestrial ones here once again in the U.S. Let's see what's going on in Ohio. Hey, Athens. There's thunder rolling in. Lightningmaps.org, we like it. When I hear thunder, I like to break it out, as it can give you an idea of where lightning strikes will happen. And hey, Tony Heller, drop me a line. Let's talk about cycling and lightning and climate and Dr. Fauci and how he should shut up and so on. Next, looking at windy.com to look at the pressure maps. We're going to advance this in the GFS forecast. We'll just let this play on here. Major low pressure systems here over the U.S.-Canadian border, kind of stagnating and looking anomalous. And here's where we expect things to be at 12 noon my time tomorrow. And it looks like the Anderson-Cooper anticyclone is remaining. Please leave a comment if you enjoy the Anderson-Cooper anticyclone. Next, we're looking at particulates to see another puff of dust coming off of Africa. Check it out. Making its way toward the Caribbean. Another bout of Saharan dust, which, by the way, fertilizes the Caribbean. Did you know? Next, we'll look at Jetstreams here. This is nullschool.net, by the way. And we look at this same stuff daily to show you where things are and where they aren't. And what we've got here is no Jetstream to speak of whatsoever. Extreme meridional jetstream flow here, meridional jetstream flow. Check out the Northern Hemisphere jet. That is as incoherent as the local code enforcement officer, Sandy Nicolo. Here are the eastern jets. And let's move on to look at some more weather stuff. Extremely dry weather here over the Middle East. Here is the water vapor map for Europe and Africa. Shout out to Eugene Bagashov. Let's get some terms defined videos going. Here is the water vapor map for the Far East and Oceania. Water vapor map for the Americas. This is part of the NASA GOES interactive weather satellites. Here's the cloud cover situation. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. More concentrated storms over Nebraska, as well as a string of storms reaching from Lake Erie down to southwestern Missouri. And those are moving quite close to a northeasterly path. Here's a U.S. water vapor map, and we're going to zoom in on Ohio here for once. Often the same place we report lightning is the place where we'll zoom in to look at convergence zones. And here you should see some massive pressure gradients. If you're flying on a plane over these areas, expect some major turbulence. Anyway, there's where that stuff is headed. And thanks for tuning in to Tales from the Smash Side. We do appreciate your patronage. Please consider sharing the content on your social media, becoming a patron, subscribe star, visiting the other links below the description, checking us out on other social media. We're all over social media. Thanks, Smash staff, for posting stuff. Don't forget to make that website today. It's smashamash.com/affiliate. Thanks for flying American Smashways. Now that your pilot's vanished, I would remind you to please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times, as we've got 3 bonus features. It's a close-up of Sunspot 2767, showing you only 1 Umbra so far, making it an Alpha class Sunspot. Here's the latest magnetogram. It's colorized, and it's a Cycle 25 Sunspot. How do I know? Well, it's at a high latitude, first of all, but it's leading with a South Pole magnetic field. Trailing field North Pole, leading field South Pole, Cycle 25 all day. And let's look at one more SDO 48-hour video. It's the 94 angstroms. The other one, in addition to 131 angstroms, which takes 10 images per minute instead of only 2. Let's just give that a moment to load. SDO's being a little bit slow today. And here's the 48-hour 94 angstroms view of the local yellow dwarf. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Feel free to start a new topic on smashamash.com/forum, folks. We're more than interested in a nutrition topic, and there's a lot to be said about nutrition. So feel free. You can put it in general science. Maybe we'll even make a new forum just about health. It could be relevant. There is a 31-plus page section thread on there in the free-for-all forum about coronavirus. If you want to see a timeline going from January 23rd up into June, I believe it was, check it out, smashamash.com/forum. And thanks again for tuning in. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance, and may that solar wind be at your back. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up. Shut up, Fauci. Fauci, shut up.